world, welcome back to the Quarantine Cricket Championship. I'm Brian Jackson and today we are playing the first day of the second Ashes Test between England and Australia, playing as Australia. First match was a draw and we enter this second match with both teams going unchanged after the draw in the first test. And right away, Warner goes down the ground for a single, off the mark straight away. So both teams unchanged, and both teams probably feeling alright going into it after what happened in the first test. And there are runs flowing already. 7 runs from the first 3 balls of the test match as Burns plays that down the ground with ease. It's making Stuart Broad look like the club bowler, if ever there was one. Oh, that's close. Gee, it's all happening out here. First over, none for 7, almost a wicket. And Warner's away off the bowling of Anderson. So, just a note on the conditions. It looks very much like a batsman's paradise. It's going to be sunny for the entire match, and there's no uneven bounce, no turn. So a very good toss to win here for the Australians. Very happy with that. But of course, England does have a world-class bowling attack. Just one from Anderson's first over. He starts in a much tidier fashion than Broad. No wicket for 8. Australia off to a flyer. And while we're here, I just want to thank everyone for the support for the first test, the first 5 episodes of the series. Getting a lot of great results so far in terms of viewership. Really happy with all of you that are watching these. And thanks to all the new subscribers who have just joined. Hopefully we'll be able to get more momentum going as we keep the series progressing. No wicket for 9. And let's hope the quality of cricket remains at the level it has been so far. The first test had some glorious moments and came down to the final over. So I'm very optimistic about this tournament. I think this is a great idea for a series. Burns plays that nicely to mid-on for a single. And Anderson finishes with a dot ball. It's no wicket for 11. Broad to Burns. Now, Joe Burns, probably some question marks concerning his selection going into the series, but a very important half century in the second innings at Lords has well and truly established him as someone to watch this series. Dave Warner, quality player. He'll be hungry for some more runs. And of course, Stuart Broad, very consistent throughout the first test, although not as devastating as he has been in the past. Burns gets that through for a single. I believe this test is at Edgbaston. Hopefully we won't see any shades of 2005. Probably not since we're batting first. But you never know on a wicket like this. Tidy stuff from Anderson. None for 13. Oh, what a shot from Burns. Wasn't even that straight. Just glides that one through the onside for 4 runs. And he picks up a single. So, Joey Burns well and truly on his way here. And a tidy single from Warner. So Broad, pretty expensive early, it must be said. England yet to take a breakthrough. But they've come close. Burns has had a couple close calls. That one's well and truly outside the off stump. So some promising signs for England. You'd figure it's going to be tough going in these conditions and against this Australian batting lineup. Obviously, it's their home soil. Australia struggling in England really for the better part of 2 decades. I don't think they've won a series in England since 2001. Pretty crazy when you think about it. So that's something I'll be looking to do here, playing as Australia. First test, if it had have gone for 6 or 7 days, maybe, we probably would have won. Oh, as Burns smashes that. Too short, too straight, pulled away with ease. 4 more. So, interestingly, Burns being more of the aggressor in this partnership, Davey Warner at the other end. Oh, and one thing that I'm going to change for this test is that, it's all easy for you guys. Hold on, Burns has just smacked another 4. He is finding that square leg boundary with ease. Anything straight and it's gone. As 9 runs are added from that over. Australia no wicket for 28. Yeah, one thing I've changed for this test is that although it's all well and easy for you guys to sit down with some snacks, some drinks, and to watch these full episodes, it's actually quite difficult for me to commentate 90 overs in one sitting of a test match. So even though we are in quarantine, I have managed to call some friends, some former cricketers, just people that I think will be good for the job, and abiding by the laws, of course. I'm bringing one person in at once to do some commentary, so we'll probably see a change probably midway through the second session. You guys get to hear a different voice commentating on the action, which I'm sure you'll enjoy. Who'd want to listen to me and me alone for an entire 90 overs? It's not that bad if I do it all myself, but, good to get some variety as Joe Burns missed a leg side so far. Should mention Stokes' bowling. He was very much a danger man with bat and ball in the first test, as you'd probably expect. Someone of his quality, probably the best all-rounder in world cricket at the moment, at least when Moeen's not playing. As Anderson continuing, he's been used in some very long spells by Joe Root this series, and now he's going around the wicket to Joe Burns. I don't mind this. You'd think that there's a risk that he's going to drop straight and Burns will continue exploiting that leg side gap, but at the same time the natural angle will take it away from him. So I can just see Burns pulling one that's maybe not short enough, catching the edge, top edge that is. Hasn't happened yet, none for 36. Stokes to Warner. And I like this from Stokes. Around the wicket to Warner, it's where he's looked in most danger, as he absolutely belts that to the fielder. Probably unlucky not to get a boundary. Burns has no such difficulties. He is off to an absolute flyer here in the second test. Runs just coming easily. Can't beat mid-off, who's quite deep actually. Pretty interesting for this first session, but I think England are aware that the conditions are suiting the batting side, and it might be a situation where they just need to wait for the mistake from the Australians. Now, I know, as a smart captain, that that's not how you play Test cricket. You've got to keep attacking, particularly in the first session of a Test match. But I think there is an English attitude that Joe Root has maintained of playing quite defensive cricket. Anderson into his 7th consecutive over here. Pretty surprising, given the age of the old-timer. And now we see Stokes coming around. Just the one slip in place. They're very much acknowledging that Burns has looked to take the game on. But I still don't agree with that decision, given that Burns has also had a couple of close calls. One play and miss, struck on the pads once as well, as we see the first of Sam Curran this morning. Pretty risky shot from Warner. If he missed that, he was gone for all money. But in the end, he picks up a single. Oh, and that's just poor bowling. He's gone around the wicket to Burns and just let him pummel that one. Another superb pull shot from Burns, who's looking more and more like Ricky Ponting. Curran looked pretty good in the first test, as Warner gets that away to bring up the 50 for Australia and the 50 partnership between these two, their second of the series. Yeah, Curran's looked alright. He's taken some big wickets, but at the same time, he has struggled for consistency as Warner plays that to perfection down the ground, 4 more. All going right for the Australians out there so far. And you have to say, the England bowlers have been all over the place with their line and length. Too often they've dropped short to Burns. And probably bowled a bit too full to Dave Warner, as Burns easily gets down the other end with a single. But credit to the Australian batsmen, they've looked to attack from the outset, and they've been rewarded with another 50-run opening partnership. So, in terms of the team selection, you'd say these two are looking pretty solid as a partnership. As Warner runs through for a single to mid-wicket, it's none for 56, and here comes Jofra Archer for the first time this test match. Didn't see a lot of him in the first test. Granted, he wasn't that impressive when he did bowl, but it's good to see him in the attack a bit earlier. Ball still relatively new. And he's looking more accurate than Broad and Curran, somewhat surprisingly, although it's pretty careless. No ball, still getting his run up right, and he beats the bat of Dave Warner. So overall a pretty good start from Jofra Archer, but he cannot get the breakthrough. Australia no wicket for 59. This is much better from Curran this over. Started poorly, and that's a good length to be bowling to Joe Burns. Trouble the front pad, trouble the outside edge, and a maiden over. So, starting to see some better signs here for the English. as the pressure just starting to mount on the Australian batsman. Warner happy to see that one through. And he gets that away to fine leg for a single. So it's none for 60 here as Sam Curran continues into his fourth over, and Warner finds the gap towards that third man region, vacant gully area. Burns unable to beat the fielder. And that is much better from Curran, firing it in at the pads. And another dot ball to finish. So Burns just having to sit through a tough period here. Not much to get away. It's what you'd expect in the first morning of a test match. The Australians probably lucky that the English bowling hasn't been too good as Archer oversteps yet again. Don't know how that's happened twice. Pretty lazy from the big fella. And it's pretty clear that they've got a strategy to bowl around the wicket to Burns. Oh, as he's hit on the pads, this could be out. No, just missing leg. Gee, it was close. Dave Warner played all around that one. And again, he's being troubled by the English bowlers going around the wicket to him. This is interesting. Moeen Ali into the attack in the first session. He also didn't get enough of a crack in the first test, I thought. Picked up a couple important wickets, and he beats the bat of Joe Burns. Probably didn't need to play that one. And you just think after a strong start by the Australians, England are starting to get on top here. Burns happy to get down the other end, I would imagine. So Moeen, an extremely dangerous player. No wicket for 65. Archer to continue. Given the conditions, you'd probably say a good first innings total for Australia would be pretty huge. 450, 500. I mean, depending on how the pitch ends up playing on day 2 onwards, but for now it's absolute road. So, a good opportunity batting first, you'd think. It certainly seemed that way so far. Just one from that over. But Moeen can take wickets in any conditions. Burns pushes that one through the offside for a single. Warner flicks one for a single as well. So this is a good way to play the spin, rotating the strike. Burns gets onto that one, probably a bit short from Moeen, but the field protects the boundary. Oh, and he's tossed that one up nicely there, Moeen, trying to induce the false stroke. And another good ball. So, with 10 minutes to lunch, England probably smelling a breakthrough. Moeen is just smelling shepherd's pie. He wants to get in there as soon as possible and just indulge. Stuart Broad back into the attack. Not his best first spell. But he's looking a lot tidier here. Maiden over. Moeen continues. The danger man. Warner knocks that one down the ground for a single. Looked like he played it against the spin there. Not conventionally good cricket, as somehow Moeen has overstepped, unless the umpire's flagging him for chucking. Which would be a bit harsh. You know, Moeen he's got one of the best off-spinning actions in cricket. Learnt it from Kumar Dharmasena during Sri Lanka's tour of England back in the day. Burns gets a single. Everything Moeen does is textbook in this longer form of the game. He's got a cover drive like David Gower. And that'll be a leg bye, I believe. So, last over of the session. Broad will bowl to Warner, who scampers through for a well-run single. Burns on 47. We'll probably have to wait until the second session to bring up his half century. Moves to 48 with that single. Oh, and Warner gets that one through the field. Doesn't even run for it. Just stands there. He knows it's 4. And the last ball of the session is knocked towards backward point for a single. So at lunch on day 1, Australia in a commanding position at no wicket for 80. Burns on 48. Warner batting slower than you'd expect. But Australia well and truly in a good position here. And that's actually going to be it for me until the third session where I'll be back. So replacing me on commentary will be my good friend and colleague, David Bumble Lloyd. What have we got here? Jimmy Anderson. New ball in hand. Oh, it's the second session. Would you believe it? I don't know a lot about virtual cricket, it must be said. But I know good bowling when I see it. Dot ball. Wow. It's amazing what you can do with technology these days. Back in my day, the Ashes was contested on a cricket field. Oh, runs! Would you believe it? Joey Burns, half century. Now, a lot of you are probably wondering how I know Brian Jackson. The truth is, I don't. I met him at the Hall of Fame when we were inducting Bill Lawry. These sorts of hidden series aren't really my style. But you can find some good odds. Good betting odds. No run. Sorry, I just drifted off there. It's been a long day. I'm 47 now. What are you laughing at? I played with Stuart Broad's father back in my Yorkshire days. He was a flog. He once wore wicket-keeping gloves out to the toss. He said it would help him. It'd help him throw the coin in such a way that either way it'd land heads. Why can't I hear the players? I want to know what the bowler's saying. It's not cricket without some good talk in the field. Why would you believe it? Stuart Broad can bowl. So I got the call from Brian Jackson. He said, "Bumble, come and do a hidden series for me. Commentary." I said, "Can I play?" He said, "No." I couldn't believe it. But I'm happy to be here. It's pretty tough. We're all in lockdown. It's a miracle I could even get a flight out here. Oh, and that's just good cricket. 4 runs. I want to hear the batsman's calls. Is there a setting that can turn on the noise from the ground? It's interesting. Joey Burns in the virtual games, twice the player the real one is. I knew his father, Rory Burns. He used to play for England as well. Young lad, opening batsman, could bowl a few off a step. Come on, England. Barmy Army. Come on, England. Why aren't their wickets falling? Should be tumbling on this track. Ball's doing a bit. Cloudy sky. Instead, they're 100 without loss. No. I hate David Warner. I met him one time at the IPL auction. He said, "Bumble, why'd you always say no?" I said, "I don't know. It's just when I've put money on a match, you don't want to see it disappear. That's what's happening now." I'm not even an England fan anymore. I prefer the way that the Pakistanis go about their cricket. Play the game as it should be played. But a bet's a bet. I put on a multi. England to win the second test of this series. Windies to beat India 2-0. And I think I had Jason Roy making a ton at some point during this series. I'm just being told my time on commentary is coming to a close. I hope you've enjoyed it. Who's bowling? Oh, is that out? Oh, it would have been out. No! 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 Thanks, Bumble. Alright, guys. I'm back a bit earlier than expected. I don't think Bumble was really up to it, to be honest. He's had a tough time getting here. It's probably understandable that he's a bit stressed. Still, there's no excuses for that sort of performance. This is an important match. I can't believe he's put money on this series as well. So, I mean, let me know in the comments if there's anyone in particular you'd like to see commentating on this series besides myself. I'm sure Mitchell Jackson will make an appearance at one point or another. Aside from that, I had Sravastha Ramanananananananan Gamage booked in for the India series. I hear he's a big India fan, so I thought he could come along for those ones. But if you'd like to see him doing the Ashes as well, then I'm sure he's available as well. That guy just loves to commentate. In terms of other options, probably Ian Chappell and Mark Taylor are the ones that I keep in closest contact with, and they could probably come along for a day or two. I'm sure they're pretty busy with their own lives, but I'm sure they'd help out here if need be. And of course, Bumble neglected to mention this, but Warner's actually brought up his 50, and Australia has passed the 100 mark, with these two still at the crease. All in a day's work. No wicket for 115, and I'm actually going to think about raising Warner's aggression here. Australia's looking pretty comfortable. He's settled. He's past 50, and he likes to get a move on, does Dave Warner. As Curran beats the bat. Just one from the over. It's none for 116. Both of these men batting well, as we see Jofra Archer steaming in. He's looked pretty threatening today, as Burns gets that away for a single. And Warner pushes that one towards point for 1 run. So Steve Smith, the only Australian to get on the honours board at Lords, with the still a lot of prestige in making an Ashes 100, particularly on foreign soil. So these two will be hoping to go on with it, as Warner absolutely smashes that one. 4 runs. Wasn't even there to hit through the onside, you'd think. Oh, and Burns, that's a more classical cricket stroke. Same result. And these two, after settling in nicely after the lunch break, are going on with it well here. Full toss, put away down the ground. Didn't need to smash it, just needed to help it on its way back to where it came from and beyond. Sam Curran, pretty inconsistent, but a threatening bowler nonetheless. As 9 runs come from that over, so Australia flying, none for 132. As the clock strikes 3 here in the second Ashes test. So for England, it'll be about breaking this partnership and then probably getting 5 or 6 more by the end of the day's play. New ball wasn't able to get the job done. They've used all their bowlers. I'd be looking at bringing Moeen back into the fold if I was Joe Root. As Warner gets through for a single. Nicely played. None for 134. Sam Curran to Dave Warner. Full and wide. Slightly too wide for the drive. Warner happy to leave them alone. Gets that one into the gap for a single. And you have to say England have been too defensive with their field placements. There's no prizes for restricting the flow of runs in Test cricket. And 2 consecutive no balls here for Sam Curran. So, looks like the pressure is well and truly getting to him, the young man. He did play an important role with the bat in the first test in helping England to a draw. Although most of the credit would be with Joe Root, the way he went about it. Ben Stokes as well from memory. Archer to Burns, nothing doing. And he's played that pull shot all day, Joe Burns. Can't quite get that one away. Looks like they've got 2 men towards the outfield. Not quite on the ropes for that very shot. Warner is preferred to play through the offside. Played a few glorious cover drives as Archer oversteps as well. So England just giving away runs here that they really don't need to. And Australia moved to 141 without loss. Here he is, Moeen. I figured it was about time for some more spin. The quicks haven't got the job done. And Moeen did look very threatening in the first session when he bowled a bit before lunch. Warner can't get him away. Bit wide from Moeen there. Pretty easy single. And I did think about Jack Leach what role he'll play in the series for England, because I have to select their team as well, of course. And I am selecting the team that I think will play the best. As Warner, does he find the rope? No, but he will come back for 2. With a nice flick off the pads. Oh, and he's edged that just past the slip. He'll go for 4, but gee, Dave Warner living in danger, and as if to say, you're an idiot for not having more slips in a gully. He plays deliberately into that region to bring up the 150 for Australia and the 150 partnership between Dave Warner and Joe Burns. Highly impressive start from these two. Edges through slips notwithstanding. But they've done a job for the team, these Australian openers, and stamped their authority on the series. Oh, and Burns, streaky, probably didn't need to play that shot, but he'll get 4. Straight over the bowler's head, leading edge. And you think they might just be starting to play some loose shots on the cusp of tea, probably 4 or 5 overs away. But they're still out there and still scoring. Burns looks to drive that, can't get it away. And Archer continues to Warner. Still only the 1 slip in place. Really inexcusable captaincy from Joe Root. He's been poor with his field placements all series. You can argue that it's the fault of the AI and that it's not going to be different for anyone, but I reckon this is down to Joe Root. It's been particularly bad. One thing that's interesting is how often bowlers will switch their angle to the batsman. We've seen a couple of bowlers going around the wicket to the right hand of Joe Burns. Don't often see that, and it hasn't been able to dismiss them. Oh, and another edge. So Australia living dangerously, and Moeen settling into his work very nicely. I wouldn't mind, if I was England, having a bloke close to the bat on the leg side. You'd think that that's pretty natural for the off spinner, especially going over the wicket to Warner like this. But nothing doing. Just 1 from the over. Good one from Moeen. 6 minutes until the tea break. And Stuart Broad returns. England's go-to bowler. Not getting the job done today. But Australia are looking a bit shaky in recent overs. Broad probably senses an opportunity. And I don't like this, going over the wicket to Warner. He's looked very comfortable from that angle all series. And they get back for 2. Well run and well played, and again, just pushes that down the ground. Nothing better than a straight drive. Best looking shot in cricket, unless it's a David Gower or Moeen Ali cover drive. That would be the only thing superior. And Jimmy Anderson back into the attack. This makes no sense given how Moeen was looking really throughout the match, but that second spell didn't look far away at all, and Anderson is just leaking runs here. Broad did as well. Australian batsmen look well and truly on top of England's opening quick bowlers. as we head to the tea break. The last ball played to short cover for no run. So another session where Australia was very much on top, adding 90 runs, I believe, and they are now no wicket for 170. Burns 85, Warner 78, and I suppose Anderson, probably the pick of the bowlers besides Moeen, who looked the most threatening, just hasn't really got a chance to bowl for long periods. Pitch still a road, and Stuart Broad will commence this third and final session of day one. To the unbeaten Dave Warner. It's good to see him going around the wicket. That's much better in terms of the likelihood of getting a wicket and just tightening him up with this angle. They've got a man in close to the bat on the leg side, and he's not giving anything away. So a good start from Broad and England. Score doesn't move. Broad and Anderson have started bowling in pretty much every session for England of this series. It's usually a pretty safe bet, particularly since none of England's other bowlers are particularly experienced, at least among the specialists. And another maiden. So England's settling in nicely after the break, but Warner smashes that one through the mid-off region for 4. When he gets going, he gets going. Rotating the strike's still important. Make the bowler change angle, disrupt his rhythm. But Australia have been dealing in boundaries of late as Anderson continues to Warner. Score now 175. Warner adds 1 to that total. So Burns came close to making a century in the first test. Can he go one better? He's moving closer. It's none for 177. Short ball, left alone by Burns, probably a wise decision. Broad bowling pretty wide, looking to induce a poor shot. Burns still looking to play through the leg side, interestingly enough. But he gets that one away. Just the single. As the fieldsman on the boundary gets there in time. Tidy over from Broad, just the one from it. Anderson continuing. And they are bowling a bit wider to Joe Burns, which is interesting. They must have noted his propensity to hit boundaries through the onside. So it'll be a tricky period here, you'd imagine, for the lesser experienced opener. But he's being patient. They're not bowling as well to Warner though. He gets that one away for a single pretty easily. Just gets a little too straight there. Burns squeezes it away for 1. And Warner looking to attack. He smells blood. With a packed outfield, though, it's pretty hard for them to hit boundaries consistently. To their credit, they've found the gap fairly often, and they've continued working the singles. That's well played by Burns. So 4 from that over. Scoreline moves to 182. Oh, and that's a good shot. Doesn't beat mid off. But they're keeping the score ticking, the Australians, after a few tight overs early on in this third session. Burns loves that pull shot, but it hasn't been as successful since the first session. To England's credit, they look like they've learned their lessons. Burns to 91 now, into the nervous 90s. No such thing. Smashes that one into the deep. Just the one. So you just think, for both of these men, a Test match 100 in England would do wonders for their confidence throughout the rest of the series. They showed some form in the second innings at Lords after both failing pretty dismally in the first innings, which looked like Australia could be in real trouble until Steve Smith's heroics. So, did that come off the edge? Yeah, it did. Streaky from Warner. He'll keep the strike. As Anderson continues. Second new ball. Pretty close, you'd imagine. As Warner gets that away. They'll come back for 2. Should get there in time. Yep. And Warner enters the 90s. He doesn't look nervous either. But just unable to pierce these outside the circle gaps. There's no circle, it's a test match, but you know what I mean. Outfield gaps. None for 190. As Sam Curran comes back into the attack to Dave Warner. Good start. You'd also think that his confidence might be starting to dip a little. Sam Curran. Long day in the field. Oh no, just as I say, he's edged it and gone. Would you believe it? Dave Warner, 91, caught behind by Johnny Bairstow off the bowling of Sam Curran, which will bring Marnus Labuschagne to the crease. Didn't perform in the first test. What can he do here? But that is just a huge wicket for England. The openers have batted all day, and only now has Sam Curran managed to find the outside edge and dismiss the danger man, Dave Warner. With that said, there's still one danger man at the crease. Well, I mean, there's 2, but Joe Burns is in the 90s as well. You'd imagine his heart's beating just a little faster after his partner's dismissal. So this could be an important period of play for the English. They can get something going, pile on a couple quick wickets, and enter day 2 still in the hunt. Just the single from that over. 1 for 191. Curran going around the wicket to Burns. Gets that away. Fielder on the boundary gets it in time. Just the single. And Marnus is away with a single of his own. Tidy stuff from Curran. He looks the goods. As Anderson still bowling to Marnus Labuschagne, and they've really changed their tactics here. They've got 3 men in the slip cordon and a gully, bowling around the wicket with 1 man close to the bat on the onside. Looks like they've got a catching mid-on as well, so they clearly don't think too much of Marnus Labuschagne. Big test match for him. The only Australian top order batsman not to make a half century in the first test. And the England bowler's not giving him anything early on in his innings today. But you'd think these are the perfect conditions for him. Flat track, tired bowlers, openers have done a job, and he's played that very nicely. Superb leg glance, 4 runs. And a single to conclude the over, 6 from it, 1 for 199. As Ben Stokes comes back into the attack, don't mind this, he's a wicket taker. Well left. And with that, the 200 comes up for Australia. Just the loss of 1 wicket, Dave Warner. So the Australians should be very happy with that. Although the runs have dried up a bit this session. But Labuschagne says, I'll take the game on. 2 full, 2 straight, and put away down the ground. Back past the bowler. Sam Curran does seem to have a tendency to bowl too many half volleys, but I can't criticise him too much. He's the wicket taker today. Labuschagne seems to have started pretty well though, as Curran oversteps. He's done that a few times today. Five overs until the new ball available, and Burns creeping towards 3 figures. But England, to their credit, have been very persistent to Joe Burns this session. Haven't given him anything to get away, really. And he's had to settle for creating singles out of nowhere like that. Good batting. He hasn't played loose shots. The score now 206. As we see some of Moeen. Joe Burns 96 not out. The dangerous Moeen Ali coming into the attack. Does he get it through the field? Yes, he does. What an innings. Day 1 of a test match in the Ashes. Joe Burns brings up 100 in style. Pierces the gap. And scurries through for a single. He knows the job's not done. Australia will be needing him to go big. I mean, maybe that's debatable given the match circumstance and the way Marnus has gone about it. Brilliant shot down the ground. Seems to be a real strength of his in the game, Marnus Labuschagne. Down the ground, playing straight. Oh no, and he's stumped. Can you believe that? What was he thinking? Oh, Marnus Labuschagne gone for 15. So another start from him turns into nothing. He'll be disappointed, but he can only blame himself. Moeen, to his credit, bowled well, deserved a wicket, but that's really poor from Labuschagne. He needs to find some form, or just find some common sense. It's day one, mate. No need to play that. And Steve Smith gets off the mark, just pushes that one down the ground. Smith, of course, the Centurion at Lords. No way, Stokesy. Missing by a mile. But England, they've made a couple of breakthroughs. They've kept the run rate down this session. And you just think, come day two, they'll still be in with a chance of knocking Australia over and making a big score of their own. Gee, 5 men close to the bat for Steve Smith. Pressure well and truly on. Moeen, what an absolute superstar this man is. Smith playing him cautiously. He respects the bowling of Moeen. But he's able to get off strike. That's the benefit for Australia with all these men close to the bat. Easier to score if they can get something away. And do they run there? No, I don't think they took the single. So 2 for 220. Oh, and what a shot. Oh, and a misfield too. You don't need that if you're England, but it helps for Steve Smith to get away. And he is looking intent off the bowling of Stokes to score runs. No need to get his eye in. Burns tries to join the party. Can't. Oh, and he's beaten the bat. So Burns just... If there's been one problem with his innings, he's tried to hit everything pretty much through the onside, more or less. And there has been a few close calls. But he's now 105 not out as we move to the last half hour of the day's play. It's been a pretty long one for England, even with these late breakthroughs. And you just think with the Centurion in Burns and the Centurion at Lords, Steve Smith, out in the middle, things could become a lot worse for them if they can't break this partnership quickly. Not a great ball from Moeen. Smith works it for 1. Four runs. Classy shot by Burns, and this is interesting. England have taken the new ball with 24 minutes left in the day's play. It's what you'd expect, but still, just the way Moeen has been bowling, I wouldn't have minded giving him more of a crack. It's looked a lot more threatening than Broad and Anderson have today. But we know they're quality bowlers and can turn things around in an instant. Tidy over, maiden in fact. Australia remain 2 for 232. Nice shot by Burns, gets 1. One run for Smith. So this is a big 20 minutes coming up, particularly for England, who will need to break this partnership. But Burns and Smith looking very comfortable so far. It will not be easy. Oh, and he's beaten the bat. Well bowled by Anderson. Poor shot from Smith. Should have just let that one go. Interestingly, he leaves that one, which was much closer to the stumps. So maybe a few cracks showing in the armour of Stephen Smith. Burns happy to work the ones into the outfield. They're not setting an aggressive field to him, even with the new ball. Obviously, that's foolish in my eyes. They haven't been that aggressive to him all day, really, after he got off to a flyer. Smith pulls that one, just the single though. Didn't get all of it. No run. 6 overs left in the day, so the over rate's been pretty poor. As Smith, what a shot. It wasn't even that bad a delivery, he just hoiked that one. Made a boundary out of nothing, Stephen Smith. And he gets down the other end the next ball. That's good batting from Joe Burns. Exploiting the gaps in the field. And Anderson just wavering a bit. He's probably quite tired. He bowled a really long spell earlier in this session, so it's interesting that he's been brought back so quickly. As Broad continues from the other end, and Burns, again, he beats the infield with ease, but just so many men on the boundary. It's just the ones for him. Australia don't mind. He's still around. And you'd think, oh, what a shot. He is the best batsman in the world. He's just played a late cut off Stuart Broad, 5 overs into the second new ball on the first day of an away Ashes test. There's no one like him. With that said, he does have some competition for leading run scorer in the series from Joe Root and Joe Burns actually at this stage. It looks like we will be seeing a series where, at least so far, the batsmen have had the upper hand on the bowlers across the 2 tests. Even in the first test, when the conditions seemed to favour the bowlers. So interesting stuff in this Quarantine Cricket Championship. 3 overs left in the day. Oh, and Burns, he smashed that. So that's gone for 6. Can you believe it? The 250 comes up for Australia. I guess Burns thought they've got a man out there. Yeah, alright. And it's completely thrown Broad off his game. He's just bowling absolute rubbish now. 2 for 255. And England now with just 11 balls with which to get the breakthrough on day 1. Smith looking comfortable. He's settling in. Burns just on another level, really. Pretty gutsy to play a shot like he did last over with 3 overs left in the day, but gee, that's just elegance. 4 runs, good cricketing shot. And the last over of the day will be bowled by Sam Curran to Steve Smith. Around the wicket, no run. Gets that past the vacant gully area for 1, so it'll be Joe Burns now on strike. He's got to see off the rest of the day. You'd back him to. He's seen off the first 89.5 overs. And that's a good leave. He's not doing anything foolish. plays that one to mid-off. And the last ball of the first day is clean bowled. I cannot believe it. Oh, would you believe it? No. Joe Burns. I mean, yeah. Look, it's Australia's day. It's still Joe Burns' day. His 5th Test 100. First against England, to my knowledge. And he's gone on the last ball. So Sam Curran picks up his 2nd wicket. Him and Moeen pick of the bowlers pretty easily there. Not much from their quicks, particularly Broad. Very expensive. But you'd have to say that entering into day 2, Australia is on top, even with England probably winning that last session, you'd have to say. 3 for 261. So until next time, I'm Brian Jackson, and this is the Quarantine Cricket Championship.